Hi, it's Kathy Baldwin, and welcome back to Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. Today, I brought Zach Frank back with me today because honestly, our first conversation barely scratched the surface. This time, we went there. We really dug into the myths of masculinity, the lies about success, and the way culture wires us to believe that our worth is based on our performance. Here's the truth. We are living inside a system that tells men they have to be tough, tells us women that we have to play small, and all of us that if we're not achieving, we're not enough. That's just crap. And today, we're ripping it wide open. Zach gets real about the conditioning he had to unlearn, about manhood and money, and even identity. And we challenge some of the most controversial cultural scripts out there. If you've ever wondered, am I actually living my truth? Or am I just playing a role that I was handed? Then this episode is going to hit you. So buckle up. Let's unlearn this conditioning together and level up.
Welcome to Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Unlearn the Crap TV is more than just a show. It's a movement towards breaking free from the disempowering structures designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's about education, healing, and unlearning the detrimental beliefs that have been ingrained in society for generations. So now, please welcome the host of Unlearn the Crap TV, Kathy Baldwin.
Welcome to Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. Your soul is calling. My name is Kathy Baldwin. I am your host, and I am excited for another conversation where we unlearn the conditioned responses and automatic programming that create the disempowerment in our beliefs and our habits and in our life. But also, you know that unlearning the crap is also biological and physical, and how it interconnects within our biology, our chemistry, as well as our health and our wellness. Zach Frank is a second-time guest. And the reason he's a second-time guest is because we knew on our first conversation that there was even way more to talk about. So we just had to have him back on the podcast. Zach, I am so excited to have you back here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Kathy. It is always a blast to chat with you. So really
I agree. So you heard what Unlearn the Crap is about, and you've been in my world for a little while. Can you tell us what crap you needed to unlearn for you to level up?
Wow, just starting with the big questions, Kathy. Really everything, right? I was born in 1995 here in New Jersey in America, and so there was no shortage of crap being shoveled into my ears, from the time I was sent to a public education institution. So, right there, you want to go subject by subject? Do you want to go year by year? It's all made up. It's all nonsense. We found our way into this completely artificial society where everything from the green grass below to the skies up above and anything in between has been altered and perverted and just completely inverted and certainly lied about in every regard. So, all of these, I guess, all of these things ultimately impact our wellness and our health. And that's probably the most important aspect of any of it, right? Because if you don't have your health, be it your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, what do you have? So, one of my favorite things to dive into is the way that we've been lied to about things that directly impact our general existence, which again, it's everything, right? Because nothing is random, nothing exists in isolation. So
Yeah.
I'm rambling a little bit just because I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, let's start by reintroducing you to the audience. Zach, could you tell everyone who you are and how you serve now that you've leveled up?
Yeah. So I'm Zakariya Frank, and I guess to describe myself with my mission, well, my personal mission is to highlight the truths and expose the lies of society that impact people and prevent them from living healthier physically, mentally, emotionally, and in their relationships. And one of the ways I do that now is through the charity organization that I run. I run the organization beatcancer.org, and we are a holistic cancer education institution. So we offer educational programs in helping people prevent but also heal their cancer. And then one of the other ways I do so is through my podcast, where I talk about all of these types of matters as well.
Love it. Okay, so we have agreed that no topic is off limits, and we're going to be just raw, open, vulnerable, and challenging the status quo. And that's one of the reasons why I always love talking to you, because you challenge me and thoughts about things that I would never have thought about before in the way that you think about them. So let's start with something that you brought up earlier. You said you were born in 1995 in the United States. I was born in 1965 in Canada. I right now want to talk about the fact that we are very polar opposite, especially in this political climate. But before we go into politics, let's talk about what was it like for you in the school system? Because for me, as a Gen X original, it was very transition. We did not have computers or cell phones or Google. We weren't even allowed to bring a calculator into the school. We were expected to memorize everything. And it was about being able to bring back all that we were taught the way we were taught it. There was some critical thinking that was brought into English where it was about examining books and novels so we could get into character and do some critical thinking there. But really, it was about memorization of dates and regurgitation of facts. What was it like for you?
Well, I think being born in 95 was like a golden era in a way where we didn't have the new school stuff right away. And we were kind of like the first like receivers of it. Like I didn't grow up with computers in the classroom, but in like my later years in high school and stuff, they were starting to get introduced. So it was like a very interesting mix of like old school and new school stuff. I mean, just thinking about my own personal experience, I was always resistant. I just like always kind of zoomed out and just thought about how this was just stupid, And I don't, I don't think that it makes me like completely unique, but yeah, I just remember like feeling wrong. Like the way that we're doing this is just wrong. But as a kid and without any external guidance to like process that, it's just kind of what you do, right? Like so, okay, you just go
Yep.
to just do the things, go to the school, do the work. The work came easy to me, so I never really like struggled in school. I was in they called it talented and gifted programs back then, so that probably impacted my own personal experience in some regard. But yeah, I mean, I don't really remember much of my childhood explicitly, but yeah, I just kind of remember school being like, okay, looking forward to this being done, but here we are. But in terms of like
Okay.
the generational stuff, yeah, it was fascinating being in that like that cusp of the technology starting to get introduced, and that's even outside the educational system, something that has impacted myself or my generation at large, right? Because even outside the classroom, we didn't have cell phones growing up, but like we got them at a relatively young age. So they didn't fry our brains from the time we were toddlers, but they started maybe around, I don't know, 10, 13, whatever.
Okay. So, what did you take from your education? Because for me, the rules were you go to school, you get a good education, you can't get ahead in a job, which was what we were expected to do, unless you go to college or university. But by the time I finished my college degree, everything I learned was outdated.
Yeah.
Nothing was applicable. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for
So
human behavior. But even then, we've done leapfrog advancements in learning from what we learned in that time, that nothing that I got out of all those years of my education, the debt that I went into to get that, has any value into my life.
yeah. And so, the only takeaways that I've brought with me from education, whether it be elementary or university, because I did attend university very foolishly, are the life lessons that came from the social interactions. Honestly, that's the only those are the only lessons I can actually think back to, and like that I actually use with me to this day. It's not in the classroom from the materials, but just from interacting with people like that. Those are the only actual things I
Can
can
you give me
remember.
an example?
Um, I mean, just anything from dealing with ridiculous roommates in college and having to navigate that to stuff with girls and relationships or like just different social dynamics. But that's not even like an education system inherent thing. It's just where I was. So that's where I was socializing. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And then there's a couple there are a couple there are a couple of professors or teachers that did have an impact on me, whether it was just through their energy and their kindness or through like specific things that they said that kind of stuck with me. But yeah, like none of which really warrant an entire education institution the way it's set up.
You're not a parent right now, are you?
No, I'm not currently.
Okay, so thinking about in the future, if you were ever to become a father, knowing what you know about our current education system and where we're going and where you see the world and all the crap that you say is all false, what advice would you give on how to navigate?
Well, what advice I'd give would be different than necessarily what I would do, right? Because everyone is going to have their own independent situations, right? But my personal philosophy, I consider sending a kid off to a government institution to so-called get educated is abuse in reality, or at the very least neglect. I think it's psychotic through and through. The fact that it's been pulled over on everyone, that you just take your child who is supposed to be with the family unit, that's like their inherent function. And look around at other species, anyone that maintain a relationship with their offspring, that offspring learns through following the parents and doing what they do and getting those lessons. And somehow we've been convinced to just export them to this place, and who knows who's there. You don't know what's happening to them. Like it's ridiculous. It's genuinely psychopathic. It's genuinely nuts that this is just accepted and normalized. So yeah, I would never send my child to a public education institution. I really don't know if I would send him to a private institution either, unless that was a carefully curated private institution by either myself or a close associate of mine where I can absolutely know what's going on. But would I give that advice to everyone as a blanket statement to just nobody should send I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't, because everyone has their own circumstances. There's obviously a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles, a lot of difficulties. And, I try not to speak in absolutes and say like everyone should do something, even if I would or would not.
Yeah, that this is a really tough one for me because I don't like or agree with the public school system where it's based on judgment and making sure that we conform. I don't believe in that. I think it's done a lot of damage to us and to me for sure. That whole right or wrong, fear of thinking. But if I were responsible for educating my own children, my children would be lacking because I'm a horrible teacher.
But, you know, that brings up such a fascinating question, right? It's like life isn't fair. Like, not everything is equal, right? And so, yeah, I mean, we're so far into a padded society that the ramifications of nature are removed. And it's a very interesting thing to analyze, right? So, yeah, in nature, like if a cheetah has a dumb cheetah parent, they're probably going to end up dead, right? And like we're so far removed from any sort of natural thing happening that, like, yeah, I mean, if a parent is, again, this is not calling you dumb, but I'm third party. Like if a parent is dumb, their kid is, I guess, has a dumb parent, and like, you know, hopefully when they're an
Yeah.
adult, they're not so stupid that they can't like make something of themselves. But like, that's like it is to a degree natural for that to happen. Is my point, you know? Um, yeah. Like
I,
not everyone can learn everything and get everything.
no, no. One of the books that I read that I absolutely loved was called The Outliers. I think it was Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah,
I
we were
believe it
forced
was.
to read that too.
Okay, so one of the stories that I absolutely loved was in the Renaissance era. There were more artists created than in any other time in history. And because what they did was when a child showed some sort of ability towards art, the family sent them away to live with artists so that they were immersed in this environment. So that what they did was they found that natural ability, and they, instead of having the child cling to the family they were brought into, they were instead raised in the environment where they were naturally going to thrive and shine.
Yeah. And that, you know, relates to a point at large where, of course, a child responds to what they are exposed to and who they are led by and what is around them. And it relates to a larger point in that, you know, in human civilizations, children aren't necessarily meant to be raised by a parent, you know, by a set of parents and them alone, right? The village, the community,
Yes,
the
yes.
extended family, that is meant to be that child's world, and that contains several different teachers. So perhaps for Kathy's kids, there's things that Kathy doesn't know, but Aunt, you know, Mary knows some things, and Uncle Joe knows some things, you know, and then ideally they get a exposure to different, you know, levels of knowledge or areas of knowledge that, you know, maybe Kathy doesn't have to know it all. But then obviously, yeah, I mean, there could still be gaps, but yeah, to go back to the other point, yeah, there might be things that one parent's lacking, but the community, the village, the strong family units has been lost, and that itself presents a lot of challenges to the modern homeschooler or the modern, you know, person just trying to raise their kids at all.
Yes, and that is one of the next points that I wanted to go to. So, perfect segue. Thank you. We came from community, we came from small villages or tribes where we were all interconnected, interrelated within our social systems, which I think is amazing because we are interconnected, interrelated beings. And whether we're talking about the energetic part of us, the soul, the intuition, the connection to source, as well as the physical manifestation that connects us, and how all of those systems are interconnected. But when we add that to the full societal social structure that we don't have anymore, that's been broken, it's really hard to recreate that kind of environment where
Yeah.
we're living right now, individual and isolated.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be though. It doesn't have to be impossible, right?
No?
It's like the internet obviously has scattered people's brains and in a way, led people to be less social, but it also does empower us to connect with others that are of a like mind. It ultimately, no matter what the external circumstances are, it is the culture of the people and the people that you surround yourself with that can make anything possible or impossible. Um, but yeah, it's certainly not common to have this philosophy or to even be a trustworthy person that someone would want in their unit. It's yeah.
I'm going to switch over into how we can collaborate with our health and our wellness. But before we do that, we were talking on being isolated and disconnected. I am watching what is happening in the United States with all of these laws, tariffs, beliefs, and everything that are happening. And I see it as even more isolation. I see it as a break of collaboration from the world, where I believe that we are moving to a place of true collaboration where each and every one of us has a special gift. And that gift is a part of the weave of the whole. And when we all collaborate, we all win. I'm coming at that from a Canadian woman's perspective, a Gen X.
Yeah.
You and this is one of the reasons I love talking to you is because you're a different generation, you're a different sex, you're a different nationality. We have different perspectives. How do you see what is happening and how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, so the disclaimer is that I don't claim to know exactly what's going on, and I don't know personally any of the players in politics, any of the people involved. So it's like I can't ever claim to be 100% right at all. But
Yeah.
the way I see things in general is that there's always more than meets the eye, certainly, and there's always just so many levels of things going on. And to even talk about things in the realm of like, this is what's happening in Canada, this is what's happening in the United States, this is what's happening in these different, European countries, like it's missing the mark in the sense that politics is a lot less bordered than we realize. And the people and the entities that have their hands in politics in different regards are international. They're globalists. They don't care.
Yeah.
The countries and the borders and in certain regards are just like structures to convince people that things are in this way and ordered and just little subsects of control, right? So I'm not like Trump is our savior, he's an amazing guy, he's the god, he's the whatever. Does it appear that at least in certain levels, he is in opposition to a global evil force that has weaved their way into every institution and element of society? Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's a thorn in their side in certain ways. Does he seem like he's perhaps co-opted or controlled by, or at least has to be beholden to certain elements of evil in certain ways? Yeah, I mean, there's some things that he does that are suspicious at the same time. I've never had a conversation with the guy. I can't connect with him soul to soul unless I do. It's like I'd like to live in the world where he is good and he's fighting this global evil that is certainly and undoubtedly against humanity. So I like to go ahead.
Okay. So you must agree with me that, and if you don't, please say so, that the majority of people are good, honest, people who have a place in this world?
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't even know if all
Really?
these people, I don't know. No, because there has to be both sides, right? I think there are people that to their core are evil. Now, and to their core are a net negative on humanity. And we could talk about whether that's some soul contract thing where they're here to be the opposition to the good people. We could talk about how they are people that are just so deeply traumatized that they are and now forever will be a net negative on the world. But no, I think there are people that are you know just are a net negative in their effect on the world. And I think there are people that do want to see the world burn and want to see people suffer. I do think
I agree with you totally that there are those people, because we do live in a world of polarity. There has to be the opposite of everything. But do you believe that they are a large percentage of the world?
I think a large percent of the world are just filler characters, actually. I think there's a lot of just like NPC, neutral, brainless, non-cognating individuals out there just to make the whole world make sense. And then a small percentage of the individuals are actually the force for good. And then a small percentage are the force for bad. I think the largest percentage of like people currently are just honestly filler characters that get like swayed one way or the other. That's my honest thought. So I don't know what the percentage of good versus bad is.
That's really interesting when I think about that concept in regards to human design. Do you know much about human design?
Not like the specific study of it,
Okay,
in
so
terminology.
human design is a accumulation of a lot of different ancient modalities, from astrology to Kabbalah, all these different ancient thoughts about who people are. And the majority of the population are into this category called manifestors or manifesting generate. Or sorry, they're generators or manifesting generators. And that is about 70%, if not 75% of the population. And they're the doers. They're the worker bees, They're they're the ones that just keep doing things. And then there's a small percentage that are the manifestors. And manifestors, I'm a manifester, which means I'm a big picture thinker. I have so many different ideas. I create, I think, but I don't necessarily get into the weeds and do the do. I actually am very bad at the details. That is something I got to work really hard to get. And then there's others that are different projectors. So what I'm hearing you say is that those doers are the ones that are just the followers, the ones that keep the wheels greasing. Is that what I'm hearing, you think?
Kinda, yeah. So I use the phrase NPC. Is that one that you've heard before?
No, I wasn't sure
All
what
right.
you meant by that.
Yeah, so this comes from like video game terminology, right? And I know it's probably not your favorite hobby, but like, have you ever played a like video game where like you're a person walking around and doing stuff? Have you ever done that? Okay, so
No, did I tell you I was born in 1965 and I would go
yeah,
to the
yes,
bars
you
and we
did.
would play Pac-Man?
Yes,
Or
you
we
did.
would have
I
the
don't know what you've gotten into lately though, but all right. So
we
think of it
had
like
the
this.
Nintendo where it was the ball that went bing, and then it bounced across the screen and then went
Atari.
bing.
Yeah, Pong. All right, so think about it like this. Say, there's a game and it's like an adventure game, whatever. You have your character, obviously that's you, who you're walking around as. You have some other characters that might be like your teammates, like the other good guys, right? You have the villains, you have like the evil people that you have to go fight. But if it was just those
Archetypes, yeah, okay.
if it was just those players on the board and there's this whole big video game world, the whole world would look kind of empty, right? When you're walking around in the game and you go into the store, you need someone behind the counter. when you're like going up to the gas station, you need someone to fill the gas. Like otherwise the world would look kind of strange. Like there needs to be like these other characters walking around. They're not vital to the story. They don't actually have any impact. You can just kind of go interact with them and they'll give you these pre-canned responses because they're just very basic in their coding. And they're called non-playable characters. That's where NPC comes from. They're just like the filler characters walking down the sidewalk as you're, the main character driving, and then you go like talk to,
and you think that's what the majority of humanity is?
Have you looked around? Have you talked to the average person on the street? Do they say much more than a pre-programmed response? And if you say something actually outside the ordinary, they start to glitch out?
Well, I could not agree with you more on that, but that I believe is part of the unlearn the crap, that we need to undo that programming. I believe that is an external programming that has come through our ancestral DNA, and that at our core, we all have a special gift, and it's been dimmed and it's been snuffed out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that goes back to the what I was saying earlier of like, are people only destined to be that way, or have some people been so laden with crap that they become that? Or I don't know. I've talked to some people myself where I just talk to them on a deep level, connect to them as deeply as possible, and just cannot come to any other conclusion of then like they are just not destined for anything more. Like this will never be a cognating person ever again. Now, I don't know if it's just because they are so toxically burdened that it's just not feasible within this lifetime, or if it's just who they are, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
That's really interesting, because I know that the conditioned responses, the crap that we have, goes through our ancestral DNA. Yeah. That we have been programmed in so many different ways. Is the programming so deep that it'll take generations to break? I mean, I think we're in a massive paradigm shift, and that there are those of us who are leading the way. And I believe I'm one of them, and I believe you're one of them. That we're shining the light that says, hey, wake up. Things are not as they seem. You have more available to you. You are more than you have ever been taught or believe. And you are special, and you matter, and you belong. But that requires stepping out of that programming.
Yeah. Yes, ancestral lineage, energetics, and resultant DNA and epigenetic, like I do believe those things get passed down. And I do think most people are several generations down, like damaged energy and trauma accruement and genetic damage as well. I think it takes one person to like in that lineage to write the course, but I don't know. I don't think every single like human being is honestly super special. I don't. I think there are ones that are like have that potential. I don't think all souls are at an equal place. Like I don't. I do think.
Everything is in evolution. Everything is in a stage. And there are new souls that are learning new lessons. And there are those who have integrated the learnings and they have ascended. My personal belief is the leaders of our religions, the Jesus, the Buddhas of our world, have ascended through their own journeys, and they're living in a place where they're like how I'm living. I live right now in a penthouse. I have a different view, I have a different perspective than the person who's living on the second floor of my building. And that's the way I think about it. How do you see that?
I agree with that. Yeah, there's different, like I said, not every soul is in the same place, and different souls have different levels of knowledge and experience and wisdom. This is where, like the old soul terminology comes from. Yeah, and I think, again, there's always a lot of things going on. So I think different souls have different levels of wisdom. I think that there are people walking around without souls or have been severed or disconnected from their souls. Because remember, our physical vessels have certain internal mechanisms that connect us with our spiritual selves. And a lot of the toxins and a lot of the things in this modern world specifically target those spiritual and energetic centers. And it's
Yeah.
very fascinating how I did a lot of reading how there was a lot of people who felt specifically after they got the COVID vaccine, they felt disconnected from God. There's a lot of people that said that. They did it and they felt like they could not talk to God anymore. I'm not making that up. Like so I think there's specifically different souls' strengths, yes, and different souls' levels of wisdom, and different people have lost connection to their soul even as well.
I like that way you have phrased it, because when I think about my own journey and my own breakdown, what had happened was I was so indoctrinated by the crap that I was taught, the societal expectations, the beliefs of what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to do it. And the belief of whether I belonged or didn't belong, and it affected me. And what happened was I slowly started to disconnect from my own health and well-being. And the image I like to use is that of a food processor. That until the food processor locks into place, we can hit the power button, we can put all the food into it we want, but nothing's going to happen. It must be in full alignment. And if we're continuing to push all the buttons and do all of that when we're not in alignment, eventually it's going to break. And what I hear you saying sounds like it's in alignment with my belief system, that when we go so far out of alignment with ourself, it is going to affect our physical well-being. It'll affect our physical body, but it will disconnect us from our soul and our intuition and our connection to God. Are we on the same page here?
Yeah, I mean, the further you get into the woods, the harder it is to see the path, and the harder it is to
Yeah.
find your way back. And again, there's the physical things that damage your connection, but it's also like a muscle, right? Spiritual processes and connecting with ourselves or God or spirituality or the universe, whatever you want to call it, is also like a muscle. Intuition is a muscle. And unless you train these things and practice using them, and then work on allowing them to get stronger, then yeah, of course they'll atrophy. If I never use my legs will atrophy.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah. So is it possible that those people who you see as NPCs are actually just atrophied souls?
Some of them certainly, yeah. That's the question. I don't know if there are people that like were born and like that was like their place in life to begin with, or if they have, or if every instance of them has been just like atrophied or damaged. And yeah, I don't know. I don't claim to know. I think you go.
I don't know either. We're just challenging the concepts and hopefully sparking some thoughts in people who are listening to see what resonates with them. And I will tell the audience who's listening, if anything Zakariya is saying is pissing you off, that's your soul talking to you. Your soul is saying that you have identified with something. Anytime we have a strong reaction, positive or negative, that is your soul's language saying that is something I want you to pay attention to. That's why you're having a strong reaction. So let me ask you, how do we reconnect? Do we start with our physical body of our health and our wellness and start removing the toxicity that is in the way of our intuition and in the way of our connection to source?
I think that's one of the easier ways to start because it's like the most concrete, right? It's the most measurable. It's the most like obvious, right? You can, if you just try to, on obviously attacking on all fronts is ideal, right? Just getting our mind more well, getting our soul more well. But like, what does that even really mean? How do you really do that, right? There's a lot of theories and concepts, but it's a little more in the woods. Someone can purchase a proper water filter tomorrow and start drinking cleaner water. And then like get the snowball rolling that way. It's like easier to start the work in the physical, you know? So yeah, that's always great. Clean up your physical vessel, make it stronger, shed the unnecessary weight, go work out, whatever method of working out is compatible with your life or current circumstances. Like do something that's like an obvious, right? That's like the foundation in this physical world to get your physical vessel better. But obviously, at the same time, it would be wise to start cleaning up your mind. Instead of doom scrolling garbage on TikTok, at the very least, try to find some good information on TikTok. Like there's some good info there too. Instead of watching movies, I like do something else, cut out toxic relationships that impacts the mind and the soul. Like do better things that stimulate your mind better. And then obviously, yeah, spend some time just contemplating life and the world and your positioning in it. And that'll start to get the soul right. Like tune in. But again, that's like much more vague to say than drink clean water.
Yes. Yeah. So, what is your thoughts and feelings, seeing as you are a major part of beatcancer.org? Where do you see this in relation to cancer? Because my belief is that the toxicity and the crap that we've dealt with, whether it's in our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, our actions, our habits, our choices, whatever, it's going to disrupt the natural microbiome of our gut. And I believe that that is the root of all diseases.
Well, you know how they like say like, oh my God, everything gives you cancer, right? Well, in a way, there's truth to that because every single matter and thing in existence relates ultimately to our experience, relates ultimately to our level of health, relates ultimately to whether or not we get cancer or whether or not that cancer remains or heals. Cancer isn't some random thing. It's not some genetic destiny either that you just get because, oops, you got unlucky DNA, I guess. That's all garbage. That's all disempowered spells. Cancer is just a physical manifestation of unwellness to a large degree. And it's not our body's first sign or first cry for help that something's not right. It's kind of a last stand. There's generally warning signs along the way, whether you pay attention or not.
Yeah.
I mean, like anything, right? Nothing's random. If your arm hurts, if you have random headaches, right? Like if it's just all these things aren't right. Like there's different ways that our body will cry for help and tell us that something's not right. That it's obviously hyper individualized, but we ignore these things or just pop pills or just do other toxic so-called solutions and then just don't fix a root cause. And essentially our body, which is very beautiful and designed to protect us, will try to protect us from these bad decisions and store either the physical toxins or the energetic toxins, store it away, tuck it away, because it realized, oh, look, my human can't process this stuff until it can't. It can only store away for so long until where it's storing whatever's going on turns what we call cancerous. But yeah, how does what we're talking about relate? It all relates because cancer can accrue from physical toxins, physical unwellness. It could also accrue from emotional and energetic unwellness as well. So it's literally all relevant. It's all relevant. There's no disconnecting any subject of life from cancer, because cancer is just life not being so well.
That I love that perspective, because I've got fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis. I want my knees have replaced, so that's gone. And I believe that that was from me living through all of that crap and not knowing what the warning signs were, and not knowing how to identify or understand the language of my body. You know, I was raised in a time where you ignore and suppress. You know, if you're sick as a dog, you show up to work because it's a sign of character to show up when you're sick, not to go to the root cause and take care of yourself. That's not part of how my whole generation was raised. And so when you're popping the Advil and the pain pills, I got to the point where the amount of physical pain I was in, I believed was normal, because our brains will normalize. So the reason I'm asking what are the signs is because these conversations are designed to wake people up and go, oh, that's not normal. That's crap. That will lead to disease. That will lead to cancer. That will lead to the destruction of me. And so I really want people to be able to see and identify, oh, this is what that means. That's what my soul is saying. That's what my body is saying. This is a precursor that I'm out of alignment, that I'm not well, that I'm heading down the wrong path.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it would be a little irresponsible for me to specifically like say, like, if you experience this, it means you're going to like experience cancer. Like, and that even could be damaging in and of itself to cast
No, I
that
just had
spell
some
to
thoughts
someone.
and ideas. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, if we're talking about the physical body crying out for help, it's aches, it's pains, it's not being able to go to the bathroom very well or very regularly. It's, you know, women's menstrual cycles not being regular and having unnecessary amounts of pain and unwellness. It's, you know, like it's how are you sleeping, like all of these things. Literally everything that you experience and how you experience it is, you know, is your body tight? Is it, you know, like, or do you get like random flutters somewhere in your body? Like none of these things are random, is my point. Headaches, obviously, your head shouldn't just ache.
I like the fact that you mentioned simple things like menstrual cycles and sleep and bowel functions, because our digestive system is really sensitive to everything that's going on, whether it's energetic, physical, nutrition, whatever, and everything will show up in our digestion.
Yeah. Yeah, how we you know, digest food is really related to how we are digesting life.
Ooh. Oh, now that's a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the environment that we're in and where we can unlearn our crap so that we can all level up? What is the Zach philosophy and what is the beat cancer philosophy? Because you are the health king, right?
Yeah, well, that was the name I was going by. I did rebrand my show a bit, so I don't like specifically go by that anymore. But I'm still the health king.
Okay.
So what's my philosophy on where to start? Is that the
Yeah.
I guess the first thing to do is to take an audit of yourself, a full audit. Like, when's the last time someone's done that? Just look around and analyze everything in your day to day and think like, okay, why am I doing that? What results is that getting me? Is this a net positive? Is this a net negative? Does it have, you know, some effects in both camps, right? And then go from there. And then if it's something that's, you know, potentially negative, then okay, well, what steps can I take to do that? You know, and again, if you're looking to make a lot of healthy physical changes, you could start by doing that, right? Like, just I don't know, I'm looking at a cup of coffee, right? So like, what coffee are you drinking? Are you drinking too much? Should you be drinking more water with your coffee? Are you drinking organic coffee? Is there pesticides in there? Do you make your coffee in a plastic thing that might be leaching plastic? Like, are you making it with a filter that might be leaching? Like, and again, you could just audit your entire existence and see if you could be making better decisions. You could probably be doing something. Look around at anything. Like, am I cooking my food in clean cookware that's not poisoning me more? Okay, now that's good. Check. Do I talk to this person and, oh, my friend Lance, is he having a good effect in my life? Am I just wasting time when I talk to them? Are they like, just trauma dumping on me and I like to hear drama, so I talk to them, but they're not really adding, like just audit stuff. Think about the effects things are having on you. I don't think most people do that. But that's where it starts, because I don't care what new supplement you take. It's not going to improve your life. I don't care what, the secret is to eat 3 bowls of oatmeal a day and not everything is going to be fine, right? Like, people look for these external things that they can start doing and it's just going to fix everything. No, think about what you're already doing. And where does that have, any place in your life? A lot of it's stripping back things, making substitutions, not just adding new practices. I don't care, how many minutes you start to I'm gonna meditate and clear my mind at the end of the night, and that, I'm gonna stretch for 10 minutes. Like, if you don't do anything else outside of that and just completely change everything, you're not doing anything. So I guess an audit is my first step.
I love that. It takes us from the unconscious to the conscious.
Yeah.
And knowing that every single thing that we say, think, or do is either empowering us or it's disempowering us. And when we are coming off of autopilot and actually consciously making decisions, do I keep, do I not keep? That housekeeping, we do it with our spring cleaning of our homes, but you're saying do it with our life in every aspect, and take a look and make a conscious decision. Do I want this? Do I not? Does it work? Does it not work? Is it a net positive? Is it a net negative?
Yeah, life has no autopilot. Life has 0 autopilot. So if you aren't piloting your life, someone or something else is, and that someone or something probably doesn't have your best interest in mind. So when you get to that destination that you think you're just on, you're acting as if you're on autopilot, it is probably not going to be a good destination. So if you want to get to a good destination, hop in the captain's chair, get behind the wheel, and figure out where you want to steer it to, and then steer it. Because if you just la-di-da through life, you're probably not going to be happy with the results. That's not how life works. Life doesn't want you to succeed. Life doesn't just want everything to work out for you. You have to take some action.
Yes. So we're not living as NPCs.
There you go. Exactly.
Which I believe is part of the crap that we've been taught. We've been taught purposeful disempowerment. We've been taught purposeful complacency. We've been taught not to think and question so that others can have control and power and manipulation over us. And that our power comes to those audits you're talking about coming inward and taking a look at who we are and really stepping into our power. I think you and I are thinking the same thing. We just phrase things differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're more on the same page than we are not, certainly.
I love that. I love that. Zach, as always, these conversations always go by way too fast for me. If anybody wants to reach out to you and connect with you and know more, which I highly recommend that they do, how do you serve the world and how can they find you?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned at the beginning, one of the things I do primarily is run the organization formerly known as the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. But because it's a big mouthful, we also go by beatcancer.org. So whether you're looking to receive our free holistic cancer counseling with our naturopathic doctor, whether you're looking to join our community calls and just kind of connect with like-minded people, whether you're looking to become a holistic cancer coach yourself or take advantage of any other programs that we have, you can do so at beatcancer.org. We are a holistic cancer education institution and have been since 1977. And more about myself personally, I, like I said, have my show where I talk about all matters of health, wellness, and do so with a truthful and transparent frame. And you can find that at ZakariyaFrank.com. It's called The Zakariya Frank Show. It's available on any platform that you do your listening or watching on. So that's me.
Well, I need to thank you so much for coming back to the show. I was looking forward to this conversation because you're always, always so engaging and stimulating, and I love our conversations. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Kathy. Always a blast.
Thank you for listening to the Unlearn the Crap and Level Up podcast. If this conversation spoke to you, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and leave a review. That simple act helps amplify this important work of unlearning the crap that holds us back. This show is built on the foundation of my 3 books, Unlearn the Crap and Level Up, Your Soul is Calling, a roadmap to release what no longer serves you, How I Unlearned My Crap, which is my raw story of breaking free and the patterns that I needed to unlearn. And the 3rd book, The Unlearned Life, an AI-powered ritual system for truth transformation and personal empower. If you're a podcaster or you want to be, this is for you because 85% of podcasts fail. Not because of the message isn't powerful enough, but because the back end can be overwhelming. I created the Finally Podcast automation system so your voice doesn't become a statistic. Your message is too important to be silenced by burnout, tech chaos, or even wasted time. My mission is to support not only my guests and you, the audience, but also every podcaster who's ready to level up. So until next time, keep unlearning, keep leveling up,